Today I'm joined by Martin Mascio. He is the COO here at 360 Support Center. I say he runs all things operations for us. He is a true leader when it comes to anything that either us or the franchise owners need. And we really enjoy and support him. And we are super fortunate to have him on our side. So Martin, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Hayden. Thank you for having me today on your TED Talk.
Absolutely. So kind of wanted to talk to you about, what it is you do for 360, especially the franchise owners, how you, put us in a position of being award-winning franchise and each individual franchise owner as well. So what's that support look like from your end?
Yeah, so as COO, I guess kind of overseeing day-to-day operations with, our support staff, trying to eliminate any obstacles, maybe identify any deficiencies within our process that overall gives that support back to our franchise system. Day to day, waking up each morning with a goal, how can, myself and the team grow, protect, and overall evolve the 360 Clean brand. So, in saying all that, something that you kind of mentioned, being an award-winning franchise, it's really kind of keeping in the back of your mind that all of those things that we put in, on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, it kind of pays off, right? It's that reminder of why we do what we do. Our franchise base being, our customer base, our vehicle through commercial cleaning contracts. So that's, definitely something I'm kind of proud about, that why. And, with our team and how we focus on the franchise owner satisfaction, various things, as we approach something, whether we're onboarding a new franchise owner or we're getting somebody to, a new level in growth or trying to, have some of those coaching one-on-one calls, we put the person first. And that's how we look at it, right? Not making sure, I think we talked in one of our previous episodes about relationships, more the customer relationships, but really identifying that relationship with our franchise owners. So FBR, you mentioned it, the franchise business reviews, the third party. They, not just, sending out surveys for us, they work with over 1,000, franchise systems. So to know that they have a high standard, who they kind of bring in and recognize as a, award-winning franchise, that benchmark, and to be able to be over that benchmark, it really helps us evolve the brand and also make sure we're providing the best support. So it's probably in, a lot of key areas they look at. I think it comes down to 8, but your training, just day-to-day support, the actual business system, leadership, communication, it can get in the nitty-gritty, right? What's the benefits to marketing system at play, the technology. Those things help us ensure, whether we get good feedback, and sometimes, feedback that's not necessarily the most favorable. And now we can hone in on, is there something that we could do better right here? And it's not just going to benefit this one particular franchise owner when we make these changes, is for the greater good and, greater for the entire franchise system.
Absolutely. I know we just received recently an award for a franchise owner out of Tennessee, Mark Charlton. I just got off the phone with him, and he got an award as kind of a culture award as far as giving back goes. And his first remark on the phone today was, truly the only thing I have to say accepting this award is the support team. Like, you guys are the only reason I'm capable to do what I do and get out in my community and give back, because I have that support. So we're super grateful for FBR to be able to, promote ourselves and what we do, and each and every franchise owner and how great they are and just what they strive for. So it says a lot. So would you say, probably for you, what does it mean to be a franchise award-winning franchise in FBR? What's that accomplishment?
Kind of, once again, it to me, it means everything, because, to focus in on the franchise owner satisfaction, because that's what it comes down to. They measure various things, but it all comes back to that franchise owner satisfaction. For franchise owners to succeed, ultimately, why go into business? To make money. If all that's not happening, you don't have a satisfied franchise base. So to me, to have that acknowledgement amongst our entire franchise base, not just kind of, picking out, a few, but be able to cast that net to our whole entire franchise base, and have that satisfaction. It really, it goes back to what we do on a day in to day basis, and those individual conversations, whether it's Carly from the accounting side, Tim, having some, intro training sessions with a new franchise owner or somebody kind of scaling up, helping be able to find opportunities through a business development lead generation program where Steve heads up. Everybody, right? It just really keeps us focused in on that. So when we see that come through, and it's not like it was just this past year, to see that the last 7 years running means that we're doing something right. So yeah, to answer your question, it means everything to me.
Yeah, I recently heard from FBR personally saying that we're almost there to that Hall of Fame. We've made it through one, and it's once you hit that decade Hall of Fame, it's a whole nother category, which is super exciting that they've kept us around that long. We're doing something right. So
And
definitely.
to kind of add on that too, and as we kind of continue that trajectory, but the big thing, as we evolve, I know me and Tim were mentioning training, and we always try to focus in on, how can we make each training, better than the next, and overall what training looks like, this year, probably won't look like the same, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, because we want to do better, right? And as that growth comes, as you add more, franchise owners in the system, to be able to use that measurable, that satisfaction, FBR satisfaction surveys that go out yearly, that helps you stay true to the course and not go astray. And then all you're looking is, big picture, let me get, at 100 units in the next 2 years. But now your satisfaction's going down. Satisfaction's going down. Most likely you're not having successful units. So to kind of back in play, somebody asks, how many franchise owners you want to bring on this year. We look at as we award franchise owners into our system, and make sure we can kind of stay true and live up to what, we're going to do. And that's coach, develop, and make sure that they build a successful business.
Absolutely. It definitely builds some credibility, behind a brand, and showing that, our people they stand behind us. But for those that don't maybe understand or are familiar with that survey, can you give a little insight on what that survey looks like? Kind of maybe some questions that are on there, or what they have to provide for that?
Yeah, so without going too crazy into detail, because it's one of those things. Yeah, like I said, it's put together by them. We don't do it. Of course, they ask if there's any specific topic where you want to kind of measure you're working on this. Kind of get some feedback amongst your system. But it's over 30 questions, and they have it broken down into certain areas, key business areas. And it can get into the specifics. That's yes, no, rate, highly satisfied, not satisfied at all, those type of things, and then you kind of have that weighted scale right there. But then there's also open-ended questions, to where the franchise owners are able to give their opinion. Right, if they don't feel like this is being done at its best, what about? Have you ever thought about doing this? Or we don't have this in place. This would be really nice that we could have, which is great. We've been able to take those feedback over the years and incorporate stuff. Whether it's within our staff position, or it's something really simple in terms of having an extra page, to order something, right? Clear up the confusion of what's this step to be able to do. And like I said, as you grow, it kind of might seem like small detail items, but it helps us put ourselves in the franchise owner's shoes.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's why we do what we do for the franchise owners. So with that, and one of the biggest things too in that survey, it comes down to your leadership, which I like, right? It asks kind of specific questions, right? Do you trust your leadership? How do you feel like the communication amongst the existing franchise owners, the support staff, the vision of the actual franchise, and the direction it's going, but kind of the self-assessment it does for the franchise owner, what they hope to accomplish, and what type of financial opportunities they have. But the biggest question is, if you could do it all over again, would you? And that's, kind of going into that way, didn't, from a franchise owner satisfaction, it just, that's the kind of, when you see that, and, you definitely see across the board, yes, we do it over again, we're doing something right, and that really, like I said, kind of speaks volumes. And, it's what does it mean to be a, awarding, top awarding franchise owner recognized through Franchise Business Review. It just shows that you're not in, a franchise happy world. Let's go franchise it. You're doing it the right way. Because unfortunately, there are some situations, maybe, a system's not set up that way, or they get, too far growth and they get away from their roots. And if you're not concentrating on the owner satisfaction, um, are you doing the right way? Could the brand be more successful? So yeah.
Absolutely. I think you see that a lot probably in franchising, and just you kind of lose your voice or you lose your opinion. And being able, you come into franchising, there's obviously practices and different, guidelines and standards that are already set before you come in, but being able to have that voice and that opinion, and the support team, or, the higher leadership actually takes it and uses it, is a lot. That's major. And so it's a cool thing to be a part of.
But, and I guess kind of stop being, selfish about, 360 Clean Me, as, whoever's watching this video, and, whatever research they're doing, and due diligence, you're kind of just scratching the surface, or you've actually had some discoveries calls with, other, franchisors, and, actually gone through the FDD process. FBR altogether, I feel like it's a great matchmaking tool for somebody that's ready to become an entrepreneur, and, get into, the franchise space, because you want to make sure you have that right fit, right? When we, screen and qualify, a candidate to make sure, they're a right fit for us, of course, they want to make sure the brand that they're looking at, not just particularly the industry, but the brand is a right fit for them. Because it comes down to, it's very much, when you purchase a franchise, when you come a part of a franchise system, it's a marriage, right? The franchisor, the brand, they have their process, it's established, as we say, trust the process. But, as the franchise owner, to be able to leverage that opportunity, to be able to make sure it matches your needs and your goals, and to be able to execute. So as somebody's doing their research, I really suggest, if you haven't got there, go to FBR, go through there, speak with them, take a look at the reports, find what the best opportunity. I'm biased, I definitely think, we're the best opportunity for, just about everybody, depending on their qualifying factors. But at the same point in time, do what makes you happy, because if you're not doing that, if that's not addressing your why, it's going to be hard to find that success in the end.
Absolutely. And FBR, like you said, is a great tool for them to utilize, but it's a great tool for us to utilize too. I know we learn a lot from looking into other franchises and how their operations are. So it is absolutely, I promote it 100%. But it's really great to hear that from your standpoint as well, because I know you, of anybody, especially on our leadership team, you communicate with them the most. So the franchise owners and FBR, but having that communication and speaking with you and getting to know a little bit more on the insight and what that means to you, I know it's super special.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you, Martin. It was good talking to you, and I know we'll have you on here again soon.
Absolutely. Take care, Hayden. Thank you.